So we will call the meeting to order at 6:34. First order of business, as always, is to review and make any changes to the agenda. I have one change to be made, and that's under new business, the 2019 audit. We can remove that from the agenda. I misinterpreted something that we had to look over, but it wasn't something for the board to review at this point, so nothing to do there. Anything else to be changed, added, or subtracted from the agenda?
No.
All right.
Always,
Hearing nothing.
it's always nice when
Mark?
it's always nice when you subtract something.
Yeah. A motion to adjourn. Anybody?
Touche.
Great. So next up is review and approve the minutes of July 20th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of July 20th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of July 20th.
Great. We have a motion from Mark. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Jacob. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. So with that, move on to Public Works. Under Roads and Bridges, Mark or Michael, any updates on grants or anything going on?
No, I have not even seen any applications for any grants upcoming. I don't know if the state's just short on funds, if they're withholding the applications or what's going on.
Okay. And I think we still haven't seen the money come in from the last reimbursements that we discussed last time, but hopefully that'll be in soon.
Black Falls Road looks great.
Oh yeah. Good. So yeah, Jacob, that was the town doing work on your road.
Yeah.
By the way.
Actually, they're doing a good job on Hill West as well.
Thank you.
Good. So fixed radar speed signs, no update under that. I did email Kevin again.
I do. Charlie, I have an update.
Oh, you do? Good.
Yes. They are going to be here Thursday to do the concrete, do the footings.
Awesome.
Ooh.
Thank God.
I took a minute. Good Lord.
So I assume the posts came in?
I'm assuming, all I know is I got messages from them last Friday that they wanted to do the base installations Thursday, and I spoke with them on the phone this morning, and it's all lined up for Thursday. The only thing, I don't know if Mark or somebody, I could use somebody to help flagging if somebody was available.
Flagging the locations?
No, traffic.
Oh,
I
okay.
could pull Mark or Blaine off. I don't think Mark's knee will take standing out there flagging. And we can.
I can talk to you about it, Michael. I'll see if I got time.
Right.
Yeah.
Weekend a little later in the week. Touch base.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll touch base with you. Yeah.
Great. Sounds good. Anything else under roads and bridges?
No, I don't think so. Our projects have been going pretty good. I did have one photo I meant to share earlier. I forgot it. I can do it another time, but it just, with Fairpoint, we removed the culvert and they'd run their phone line right through, cut one of our culverts right in half with their phone lines. That's why when anybody puts in an application for more burial lines, I'm not allowing them to go over top of a culvert. I'm just finding too many culverts they've damaged, and it's just sometimes it's almost impossible for us to be able to change a culvert if the wire is right tight into it.
Yeah.
But I have photos I'll share at some point here.
Okay.
I mean, later date. I'll send them to the board.
Okay.
Okay, great.
I just constantly finding where they put a cable plow right through our culverts.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else under roads and bridges?
No, our repairs are going good. I think, well, you know, I feel we've been making excellent time. I mean, unfortunately, the graders should be out, but we just can't be in two places at once.
Yep, no, I hear that. Great. If that's it for roads and bridges, move on to buildings and grounds. First item on that, 98 Main Street, still silence from the post office. So we'll just keep on keeping on until the lease agreement's up, I guess. Then they'll have to talk to us. And as far as the generator repairs go, I did hear back from Brookfield that essentially our existing generator, there's no value to them on it, so that we won't get anything from them. They suggested that we put it on Craigslist for what it's worth. So that kind of answers the question about any kind of, you know, resale value to that. They were also a little concerned about some of the environmental things with it in terms of being able to resell it through them, but either way.
Like emissions?
What's that?
Like emissions?
No, it sounded almost like they were concerned about things having to do with the generator itself, and I didn't dig into it because they basically made it clear they didn't want it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So let me get,
Sorry, Larry, what was that?
well, just let me get this clear. They don't want to have anything to do with it because there's of no value and there may be a problem with it environmentally, but go ahead and sell it on Craigslist. That's what they told me.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the environmental thing was more kind of like a insinuation that I might be reading between the lines on something, but they basically said, yeah, if you want value out of it, sell it on Craigslist. So I did try a few other generator places. A couple of them don't service this area, but I did talk to a really nice guy down at Milton Cat, which used to be Southworth Milton. And discussed with him a replacement generator. They right now, the only comparable model they sell is a 50 kilowatt generator. Ours is a 40 kilowatt. And the 50 kilowatt generator does come with an enclosure, which would protect it. It's also designed to muffle sound, which we don't necessarily need. But they're looking at a cost of about $30,000 for that one.
Wow.
So that's compared to the 18.6 that Brookfield was looking at to get a 38 kilowatt replacement. Tom at Milton was going to do a little bit more digging today or tomorrow for me about a control panel for the current one and whether or not that's something they could source and what price that would be, because on the estimate we got from Brookfield, they were quoting us about 10 grand, just shy of 10 grand for a new panel. So I'll wait to hear back from Tom and see if there's any kind of potential price reduction working through them, and then I'll report back. So that's the news on the generator saga.
Okay.
Jeez. Underwhelming.
Yeah. Michael, anything else under buildings and grounds?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, great. Easy, quiet. Next item under here is the Transportation Alternatives Program, the TAP program for Longley Bridge. So we just got the paperwork this afternoon to execute the engineering agreement with Dubois King. So we'll get that signed in the next day or two and get them rolling on that. So that work is progressing.
Cool.
Oh, good.
And then as far as the FEMA update goes, Michael and I were out pretty much all day last week. Was it Thursday, Mike? Wednesday?
Yeah, it's Thursday.
Thursday with two representatives from FEMA doing the final inventory of all the work that is left to be done. I think it went really well. We've got things documented really well. They were really good about working with us in terms of you know, upgrades to culverts that are required, bringing things up to codes and standards. I felt really good about it. Michael, I don't know if you've got any reflections on that.
No, I felt they were very good to work with. I was very impressed. I wasn't expecting that level.
Do we have
you know,
everything?
Yep. So that's done. So that is now in their database. We have submitted for the first round of reimbursements, which we should be seeing soon. All that paperwork got in last week. Next round is for Black Falls, so we'll just keep ticking through this as we can. But it's going pretty good.
You want to go full screen?
Mike, anything else on FEMA or on Public Works in general,
Tell me
Michael?
where it is.
Hey, Pat, can you mute?
I'm here.
Thanks.
No, I think that pretty much covers it for the FEMA.
Awesome.
You know,
And then anything else under Public Works, Michael?
no, not this evening.
Okay, awesome.
Well, I have you, Michael. That driveway permit, can we skip to that one? The
Yeah,
driveway.
I see it was later on the agenda, but we can, sure.
Yeah,
Whatever you
if there's
guys
no
want.
objection, we'll jump to the permit for Joe Starr.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
go ahead.
You know,
Yeah, I went and looked at the site today. And yeah, it's going to need a culvert, and with the message he left, I'm a little concerned on the width. He seems to be sticking to a 12-foot driveway width. I just want to make sure either highlighted or stated on the application that a minimum of 30 feet is required.
mean the width?
Width of the culvert, yes.
Yeah, yeah. You only want to go 12.
For his width of his driveway, yes, not where he's put the stakes in for 12 feet, which he stated was going to be the width of his driveway.
But I think on the permit it says 30-foot culvert. Yeah.
It does. I just didn't know if that should be highlighted on the final one or just make sure he is aware.
So should we try to meet with him or to go over that, or give him a call?
Yeah, I guess you could give him a call. Just make sure he is aware. I mean, it does state it on the permit that 30 feet is the minimum.
Yeah, yeah. So where's that? Right past his house, Joe?
No. This is up past Kingsley Drew's
Oh,
on the
okay.
right-hand side. There's an old field up in there, and there's always been a little tractor access, and that's what he's utilizing.
So there's no
Apparently
culvert.
wants to upgrade it.
There's no culvert there now, then.
No, there is not. No,
Okay.
there never has been. They've always just drove through the ditch with a tractor.
Okay. Is the permit at the office?
Liz thought you or Charlie had it.
Nope, the permit
Oh.
should be, yeah, it's in the inbox. Yep,
I haven't seen. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
And then Michael, I had another question on North Hill driveway permit that Liz sent us.
Yeah.
Is that a different one than the one we looked at?
No, somehow that got duplicated. I don't know how, but that is the same one we did a month ago.
Oh, okay. Okay. That one didn't need a culvert. I
No.
don't think. Yeah.
No, I mean, that was approved a month ago at the meeting.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the same one. Okay.
Same one, yeah. Somehow it got duplicated and came back into the mix again.
Okay. Okay. That's good. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we'll have to get a hold of that Joe Starr, and I'll get the permit and let it make sure he knows how wide it's supposed to be and all that.
Yeah, I just got a little vibe there that he wanted just 12 feet. I mean, so I'm assuming the 12 feet driveway, he just wants to put in a 20-foot culvert.
Yeah.
You know, one length of pipe.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll make sure before he does it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure he's aware, that's all.
I haven't been up on Creamery Bridge to see if they fixed that one yet. I haven't heard anything from them on Creamery
No, I
Bridge.
have not been up there either.
Okay, I'll go check it out and see if they fixed that one yet.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I got.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, so that permit for Star should be in the inbox with all the
Okay.
stuff.
Then you'll have a number on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so it's 10:07, so if there's no objection, we'll pass over visitors for now and circle back at 7. Moving on to water commission issues. I am not aware of any water commission issues at this point. I did check with Ross and he said that he was gonna start doing hydrant flushing, I think Thursday.
Yes,
Um,
I did too.
so,
Yeah.
yep.
And that
But
was his
other-
car at the water plant. So
Yeah. That was a funny email
I'm glad
exchange.
you liked our email chain.
I like the
Yeah.
neighborhood watch in full effect. It's great.
Yeah. Have to tell Ross to get a brighter decal on the side of his car that says Simon Operation Systems.
Yes. I guess his in-laws were visiting, so his driveway was full, so that's why he parked his car there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, then moving on to old business. First item here is just the COVID-19 and municipal local response. I don't have anything for this tonight, but wanted to keep it here just in case anybody else had any information, news, or questions in that realm.
Have you heard? I heard the state was going to be handing out masks to the towns. Have you heard anything about that? I heard them announce that, but I never
So
have.
I know that we've received masks as part of the elections stuff. So there are masks at the clerk's office that are available for polling places. I'm not aware of any masks that were delivered in, as far as like general populace masks though.
Oh, okay. I just heard them announce that, and I just was wondering if we had it.
I agree with Mark. I heard the same thing.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
it say that they were going to be supplying them to municipalities like directly,
Yeah.
or we had to apply for them, or?
I don't know. It said they were going to be supplying to municipalities. I didn't get the whole gist of it. I mean,
Okay.
they should be if it's going to be mandatory.
Yeah, I will. I'll check with VLCT. I haven't seen anything come through the email yet on that, which is typically how they send that news out. But I'll check with Liz and VLCT to see if there's any information on that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks, Charlie.
And I guess it should be stated, as Mark just alluded to, that there is now a mask mandate in place. So all public areas in town, people should be wearing them.
Mhm.
Anything else on this front from anybody? If not, we can move on. The electric vehicle charging stations. Suzanne, I think last Doug was going to start scoping out the hall. Has he had a chance to do that yet?
Yeah, I'm meeting with him this week, probably on Thursday. I'm assuming I just get the keys to the Grange from Liz.
Yep. Yeah, she'll have them, so you can grab them there.
Okay. And
All right.
just, I'm sort of solo parenting right now, so if I jump away, it's because I've got kids.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Cool. Well, then moving right down the old business line, the next item up here is the wastewater and streetscape projects. So there's no big updates here. Right now, we're waiting on USDA's funding offer. They were doing the underwriting for that last week, going through and just double checking on the different funding amounts and grant or forgiveness eligibility that we have through the Clean Water State Revolving Fund and things like that. So I expect that within the next week or two, we will have the funding offer from USDA in hand. And that will be kind of the next big step as far as planning goes there. So that is kind of the news on that front for now. The only other thing that we're waiting on is the engineering service agreement from Hoyle Tanner for the next phase of work. Once that comes in, I'll send it out to the board for review, but that'll essentially lay out the phase of final engineering. So we'll want to review that, track it, and kind of measure it against the funding that we have available and the work we've done to date, just to ensure that funds are in place to continue the work.
When was that meeting date with the whole system users and everything for the
Yeah,
wastewater?
so we are still thinking about an August 11th date. I want to confirm that with Liz tomorrow and talk about postcards. So hold August 11th.
Wasn't that primary day? Or?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm sorry. So the 12th, I'm sorry.
We're gonna move it to the 12th, I think.
Yeah, the 12th was the revised date.
Yeah,
So still hold that open if you will, and then I'll try to confirm that in the next, tomorrow, basically, so that we can get postcards out about that in the next 2 days.
yeah.
6:30 time for
Yeah,
that?
that would be the start time. Yep.
Charlie, will you be also doing in person and Zoom for that meeting?
So at this point, it's going to be a Zoom meeting. Unfortunately,
Okay,
to plan something outdoors at the rec center without controlling the weather, it's going to create a hard pivot. So if we plan it outdoors and we don't have the weather with us,
why can't
have
you
to
do it at the Grange? A Zoom and a Grange meeting?
well, if it's in the Grange, that means that not everybody who's invited can fit in the Grange.
Right, but whoever can't goes on to Zoom.
Yeah, but that creates this weird inequity
Okay, all right.
between people, and then you have folks have to leave and go home and then hop on. So, I mean, I would love to do it in person, but the mechanics of it just aren't really in our favor right now.
We need a circus tent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the pavilion at the Grange and the Grange Hall are at the rec center
Center.
would be perfect, but even then, there's not enough space under it for everybody if everybody
Yeah.
turns out. So that's it for updates on that front. So things are still a little quiet right now as we move into the next phase.
Would that be at 6:30, Charlie?
Yes, on the 12th, that would be 6:30. So again, we'll try to confirm that tomorrow and then get the notices out by Wednesday. All right, if there's nothing else under old business, which we've buzzed through quickly, it's now 4 of 7. So with that, we'll pivot to visitors, if that's okay with everybody.
Mhm. Yeah.
Great. And we typically do visitors in the order that folks got here. So I think Sue was the first person to join the call. So Sue, do you have anything for visitors?
No, I don't.
Nope.
Nope.
Is that Arnold up there? Or
Yep.
Yep. How you doing, Arnold?
By yourself?
Good, good. Do you have anything specific for visitors, or are you here for the ATV petition?
I'm basically there for ATV thing.
Okay, awesome. We'll get to that in like a minute. I want to give Roberta a chance to hop on because she was gonna try to for 7. So I'll just go right down the line. Larry, anything for visitors?
Yeah, just that Anita's here as well, okay?
Yep.
Just want to remind you about the end of the Reagan Road, visibility of being able to pull out on the Route 58 and that hole there. I know the boys are really busy, but that hole is dangerous as well. I saw a dual-wheel truck drop a wheel into it the other day.
Oh, okay.
So Larry, that's the end of 58 or the end of Reagan Road?
The end of the
End of Reagan.
Reagan Road where it joins 58.
Yeah,
Okay, when you try to pull out on 58 to go downhill, you can't see because of all the hay and grass there. And as you try to pull up 58 to go up 58, there's a large hole on the right.
Oh, okay.
Caused back in November 1st.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that, because I was looking at the other end of Reagan Road with Michael last week, trying to figure out where the hole was, but we were at the wrong end of the road.
I also replaced a culvert on the Debo Road the other day.
Great.
If you want to get me reimbursed through FEMA for that, you can go ahead and do that.
Okay, we'll get on that. But actually, for in all honesty, Larry, email me the specs on what you did and your time. And this was a culvert that was damaged through the storm.
Yes.
Okay. I think our damage inventory is locked, but if there's any way that I can move that into there, I'll look at it. I'll ask Kelly.
And the other thing, Charlie, I would like to be able to speak during the ATV thing. I have agreed with Roberta that I would try to say something.
Awesome. So we'll pivot back to that after we go around the horn right now.
Thank you.
Darren, anything for visitors, Darren?
I'm also here for the ATV thing, but I'll just add that I think the board is doing a wonderful job, and it's so much better than the last board you guys had a couple years ago.
Thanks, Darren. Pat, did you have anything for visitors outside of the ATV issue? Nope. Okay,
Are we on?
yeah, you're on now, yeah.
Nothing now. Thank you.
Great, thanks. And then I have someone here that it says Saber's iPhone. So is that Saber Massey?
Yes, it is Saber Massey. I
Hey,
think
Saber,
I'm the
how are
only
you?
Saber Massey here. So.
I think so. I was going to guess Saber's iPhone, unless someone stole your phone.
Yeah, yes, I'm here. I'm here for ATV.
Okay, great. Cool. So with that, we'll pivot to the first item under new business, and that is a ATV petition. So last week, the board received a petition to add the question of whether or not to open all town roads to be a ballot item at the November general election. Excuse me. In reviewing the petition, it appeared that it met the statutory requirements for the number of required signatures, and the signatures were all validated except for one, I think, as being all registered voters in the town of Montgomery. So the petition met the requirements as far as signatures and valid registered voters signing. The issue with the petition was that the petition was asking that the question be added to the general election in November as an Australian ballot item. The issue there is that Montgomery is a floor town. So what that means is that all of our business is conducted from the floor at town meeting unless otherwise statutorily required to be done by Australian ballot, such as the bond measure that we had last month. Towns can vote to do 3 buckets of things by Australian ballot. One is the election of officers. So that would mean every officer elected would be done by Australian ballot. Towns can also vote to have their budgets passed by Australian ballot. You know, we do ours from the floor, but a town could opt to have that done by Australian ballot. The third bucket is all other business. So all other questions that go before the voters. Towns can elect to do 1, 2, or all 3 of those things. The trick is that a town has to vote to do it by Australian ballot prior to actually executing the Australian ballot question in hand. Because Montgomery has never voted to move to that manner of voting, we cannot put a question like this to the voters by Australian ballot unless the town votes to move that way. And I'll just add a footnote there that if the town decided to vote on questions by Australian ballot, it would mean that all future questions would have to be by Australian ballot as well. So essentially, quick recap, we vote on everything at town meeting. The other option is to do Australian balloting. We haven't moved to any measure by that, by that method. And so for that reason, the petition is considered not valid in that it's asking the board to do something which we legally can't do. So for that reason, I notified Roberta and Brent, who submitted it, that from a strictly legal perspective of the petition as submitted, the petition is not legally valid, even though the signatures are completely valid on that end. So that's kind of the current state of where things are at with the petition and with this question. I want to open that up to the board first for any kind of comments or questions related to this. So Jacob or Mark?
I'm assuming that there's no way.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's Suzanne. Suzanne, I'm sorry. I was still operating under the 3 of us here. I forgot you joined the meeting. I apologize. Jacob, stop. I'm going to Suzanne first. Suzanne, any questions or comments?
Yes. I cede the floor.
No, Jacob, go ahead. Sorry.
So just to be totally clear on process, I'm working under the presumption here that there's no mechanism for amending the petition to bring it to compliance. You would have to essentially start over to request an action that is compliant with Montgomery's voting procedures.
Yeah, so there is no method to amend the current petition. I did check with our attorney because there was a phrase in the petition that had to do with, I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry, but or the next meeting, essentially. And so my question to the attorney was, if we can't do it in November, does this petition essentially kick it to town meeting automatically. And his answer was no, it does not automatically kick it to town meeting.
Got it.
So my question is if they petition us to put it on the town meeting vote, just to be voted on at town meeting, then that would work?
Yeah, so I guess as far as I see it.
Vote on it from the floor. I mean.
Yeah. So I think the board, as far as I kind of see it, has two options here. One is that we can essentially say to the petitioners, your petition is not legally valid, come back with a valid one. Or the board could essentially say, look, the petitioners, acted in good faith and tried to submit a legal petition. They did actually run this by the Secretary of State's office. So, they did their due diligence. The SOS office neglected to register that we're a floor town. And so they told them the petition was fine. So the board could also act to say, look, petitioners, your petition is not valid, but we're not going to make you go back and essentially redo the petition. We will take this in good faith and essentially add this item to the warning for town meeting to save you the hassle. So those are kind of the two angles that I see developing here. Suzanne, any thoughts on your end before we open up the floor?
I guess the only thing I wanted to clarify was how was it that we could do Australian ballot for the bond, the most recent bond, but we wouldn't be able to?
Yeah, so the Australian ballot for the bond measure was because statute requires that a bond measure like that go before the voters as an Australian ballot measure.
Okay.
So anything that the law requires goes to the voters as an Australian ballot measure. We have to do it that way, but anything else, we don't and we can't unless we vote to move to that form of voting.
Okay, just for clarity.
Yeah. Okay, so with that, what I'm going to do is I'll open the floor up to folks to comment. So Larry, I see you got your hand up, so go ahead.
I could very easily write an addendum changing the time and date or place and date, if that would be acceptable by the select board. I wanted you to know that the reason that date was chosen, one of the reasons was there's already been so much mudslinging, misinformation, hurt feelings, threats, retaliation, the whole 9 yards. And they were really trying to avoid that happening again, which is going to happen during town meeting. When this gets to a discussion phase during town meeting, that whole thing is going to happen again. We felt that the feeling was that they're pretty much well divided and we knew where it was already. And we are hoping to avoid any more conflict and get it voted on and get it done with, okay? The second reason we felt there's so many people that work in the service industry, contracting businesses and everything, and have just opened back up that can't afford to take the time off to come to town meeting. It's always normally the same group of people, pretty much. And we thought we'd get more voters involved by doing this. And may even be to the positive four-wheeler people's advantage. But that was the reason it was. It was to avoid the conflict.
Yep. Yeah, totally fair. Yep. Yeah, Darren, saw your hand go up. Go ahead.
Well, just to go over a little bit of, everyone I think on the board knows the history. This came up about 3 years ago. And I would say the town was divided about 50-50 between those that wanted to open up the remaining town roads and those that, or actually at that time it was just 58. And then those who had so many difficulties with ATVs, they wanted to just delete the ordinance and ban them in town altogether. And I think the board did a good job at that time of just splitting the baby in the middle and saying, let's just leave everything the way it was and keep the town from getting divided about this. If those that want to open up the town to, all the town roads to ATVs want to push forward with this at town meeting, that's fine. I know what's going to happen is those that are opposed to them are going to go the other route and they're going to put another item on the agenda for town meeting, which basically bans them throughout the town. So we're going to end up with what the select board really tried to avoid, which is dividing the town in half, 50-50, and one side prevailing with maybe 52 or 54% of the vote, and everybody having really hard feelings. My suggestion might be, and this is something, Charlie, you might want to approach Roberta about, is maybe let's get the people who want to open up some roads to or maybe we negotiate something where people in town can be on all town roads, but people from outside of town can't. And let's get all the people who are for it and against it, let's maybe get them together in a meeting, maybe me and Roberta talking, let's try and find some compromise that may not be ideal for both sides. But I don't want a situation where we ban all ATVs and all the ATV operators in town are hurt and upset and angry, and rightly so, about that. And at the same time, those people who have legitimate complaints about how they're being operated in town lose their side of it, and then they're angry too. I don't want to divide the town on this. So maybe between now and town meeting, maybe there's an opportunity to get the two sides together and negotiate changes to the ordinance or agreements or things that could solve the problem without having the town just totally split 50-50 down the middle on this. Is that something that makes any sense, or am I just crazy?
I mean, I think in principle it makes sense. In practice, I think like a lot of things, it's hard.
Well, I think, the only option is, aside, if we don't go that route, then we're going to have those that want to open every town road open. And I guarantee you the people that have had enough of the ATVs are going to just go to the extreme of saying, let's get them off all the town roads and save all the money, that they do destroying all our town roads. And, nobody's going to be happy either way.
Yeah. So I want
Can
to
I say something?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Pat. Yep.
Yeah, I like Darren's approach. Personally, I have no problem with local ATVs. It's the big groups and the really loud ones.
And most of them are the ones that are out of town. And if we open up all
Yep.
the town roads to all of these people, it's going to be a caravan of out of town people just who don't live here, who aren't responsible, who don't care about
Okay.
our neighbors. We're going to just give everybody who drives an ATV locally a bad name. And that's really what we'd like to avoid.
Talk is always the best first approach.
Okay, Pat. Arnold, I want to give you a chance to weigh in here too.
Well, my thoughts on what was just said, I don't think it's fair, personally. If you just limit the residents of Montgomery to ride ATVs on these roads, for one reason is these caravans, if you whatever you want to call them, which I think you're kind of overreacting a little bit, but anyways, they pay the same fees that people do that ride motorcycles, cars. They pay registration fees, they pay insurance fees, they pay taxes, just like everybody else. So I don't know why people think just limiting these ATVs to just residents. I don't think that's fair at all. As a resident of Montgomery all my life, I just think that a lot of people aren't being really fair about this, if you want to say. I know I used to live on 118, and I'm down there on 118 a lot. And on weekends, I tell you what, there are some motorcycles that go by the house down there. I'll tell you what, they're a lot louder than any ATVs that I've been by around. Maybe there's a lot less of them, but that's beside the point.
They're also there legally.
They're illegal. I didn't hear that.
They're legally entitled to be on 118 where the ATVs are not.
Which is correct. I agree with that. But you're throwing noise into the factor a lot of the times about this ATV thing. Noise. It's like I don't know if you guys live on 118 or a main highway, but I know the back roads, you're not gonna get that with a motorcycle, that's for sure. You're probably not gonna see a motorcycle on the back road.
Yeah.
So, I just don't think that you guys are playing that fair as far as I'm concerned. It's not just because I got an ATV. It's because a lot of people I know do have them, and they're just trying to go out and have a good time. And as far as these large groups, I mean, that actually could be dealt with, you know, I would say to a certain extent, as far as, you know, so many per group, even though if there is a large group, just break up, just split up. And of course, the holidays, you're gonna see more ATVs out because people got the day off and they wanna ride. And as far as the town meeting thing, just voting from the floor, there again, I don't think that's fair because a lot of people like myself have to work. Town meeting is not a holiday. You don't get it off. You have to work. So there's gonna be a lot of people that aren't there that could vote, which is gonna hurt the ones that do want it.
Yep. Yeah, I just need to reiterate that the town meeting thing, it's not, I mean, that's just that's a framework that we have to operate in legally. If the town, what's that?
And to be fair, the people who are signing, some of the people that are signing the petition that will be received shortly, banning them outright, are not able to be at town meeting either. So,
But
you
yeah,
know,
but I just want to put out there that, you know, if the town does want to move towards a different system, we can totally like put that on the warning for town meeting and bring that up and discuss it. Because I think Arnold brings up like really solid points here that, you know, it's not a holiday, people can't come. It's, you know, and I don't think that's fair, and it's probably not the best system. So I think we can totally debate that aspect of it. All I'm saying is that right now we have a legal framework that we have to operate in, and that's just the way that it is until we decide to change it.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah. I do want to give Sabra a chance to weigh in here if she wants to, because she hasn't had a chance yet.
Yeah, I mean, what I like, I like Darren's idea. I think what we need to do is sit down civilly. I have a background in mediation, so I believe in mediation, that we need to get the two sides together so they can both present how they feel. I mean, living on a back road, we bought this house 20 some years ago because we like the quiet. And now on weekends, it's impossible to sit anywhere in the house and not hear the ATVs. And I'm not even right on the road.
Where'd you used to live?
I lived in cities, so I'm used to noise. But I was raised in the woods in Ohio, so I'm used to both styles of living.
So it shouldn't bother you.
Pardon?
So it shouldn't bother you if you're used to two styles of living.
All right. So Mark, I saw that you had something to add.
Yeah, I knew this was going to be coming up again, the ATV. And the thing that has changed since the last time we discussed this is that Newport opened up their main streets and, you know, their town to ATVs. So I talked to one of the select board members and a couple people up in Newport just to see how things were going up there, and they were saying things were better because you know, people are like policing it more since they're open. They're policing it more, so it's kind of the ones that were making the noise and everything. They're kind of taking care of them themselves, and they said they really haven't had things have been better since they've opened up their roads and everything. So, you know, I think that's something we need to look at. Is this is something different that has happened since we opened this up before, and you know, like Westfield and even Richford, the other end of this road is open, Fuller Bridge Road, and the other end of Westfield is open already. So,
Yep.
but I don't think we can do anything with 242 and 118. But I'm just pointing out the facts that, I mean, people should talk to people over there and just see how it's going. That's something that's changed since the last time we brought it up.
Mark, does Newport have a police department?
I believe so.
And does Richard have a contract with the sheriff's department?
Yes.
The answer's yes.
Yes. Yes. But I did notice here when we started reporting, problems with the ATVs, that it did die down. I mean, once it started getting policed, because when this season first started, I know it was really bad, and then it did quiet down. So that's all I got to say.
Suzanne, just go ahead, Suzanne. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that in theory, the idea of this meeting is a great idea, but based on the last meeting that we tried to host, I just think it would devolve into us versus them versus us, and it's just not very productive. It doesn't seem in this regard. I was looking at the Danville, Vermont ATV ordinance. Somebody shared that, and I kind of looked into it a little bit, and they do a couple of interesting things. For one thing, they have an ATV committee that is formed by community members on both sides who work together to sort of establish a system that works as far as what they all want to see and if they can agree on it. They also have if you have an offense, like an ATV offense, like driving on unauthorized roads, or speeding or drinking and driving, things like that, then you can be banned from using an ATV in that town. So I think that these are maybe we should revisit the ordinance, but consider some of these options that might satisfy the people who are against ATVs and also allow for some flexibility for the people who really want to see more ATV activity.
Yep.
Good idea.
Yep. Yeah, Larry, go ahead.
On Darren's idea of only residents using the roads, when you open up a state highway, and if you look at the petition, they're basically all state highways. If you do some research, you can't legally stop non-residents from using those highways. Okay, and there's no way to police it anyways.
You actually can if you create.
Don't interrupt me, please, Darren. You've interrupted everybody else. Leave me to speak, please.
Sorry, Larry.
Thank you. I have no trouble with a mitigation idea, and definitely like Suzanne's idea. I do worry about in 6 months will be town meeting, and I wonder if we can traditionally even hold a town meeting at that time, considering I don't see that much coming for improvement in the virus situation. I wondered if the select board has discussed with their legal people what would take place in town meeting if you couldn't hold a traditional town meeting. Would we be doing a vote from home anyways?
Yeah, we have not. I've kind of half serious asked some people at the state, but right now most of the guidance we're getting out of them is looking, a month or two in advance, or immediate concerns like school starting and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have not heard any guidance on that yet. But it's a good point that,
Does the town have the authority to open the state roads, 118 and 242?
Yeah, we do. We can essentially we I don't know how to phrase this right, but we basically tell the state that we want to open certain sections of state highways, and then they grant us the permission to do so.
Okay.
Yeah, as Darren said, this was a question back before us 2.5, 3 years ago, and as he pointed out, the board kind of said, "Look, there's no consensus either way. We're going to leave it as is." So
yeah, sorry.
So I do want to just kind of point out that the discussion tonight really is on what to do with this petition. I think everybody's points that have been raised are fair ones, and it's a good discussion to have. But as far as tonight's decision of the board goes, it's how do we respond to the petition? So again, the petition was submitted. There were some things, some problems with it, given what they were asking and were statutorily allowed or not allowed to do. So circling back again, you know, the way I see it is that we can either tell the petitioners to start over and submit a new one, or we could tell the petitioners that essentially we think you acted in good faith on this front, and we will add your question to the warning at town meeting without you having to submit a new petition.
Charlie, can I ask a question?
Yes, Amber, go ahead.
I don't know if this applies to the petition because I don't know if I read the whole thing or not. But is it required for all ATVs to be registered, have a license plate at all, and carry insurance?
So the petition didn't have anything to do with those requirements. Those would be what's already in the ordinance or not in the ordinance. And I don't have a copy of it in front of me, so I'd be
Also
speaking-
state law.
And state law, true.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So, as Suzanne pointed out, like the board could consider other amendments to the ordinance.
Okay.
You know, if or when this time comes. The question now is around opening other roads and how to respond to the petition.
Okay. Because I was wondering if we open up other roads, what about people who are not licensed or anything? How is that affected at all?
They would be governed, regardless of what road they're on, they'd be governed by what's in the ordinance and what's in state statutes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. So, board, any feelings on this? Any leanings one way or the other on how to respond to the petition? Yeah, Jacob.
Yeah, I don't have the clarity that I was hoping I would have by this point. I mean, what seems like we have in place now is somewhat of a middle path scenario. All roads except for 2 through roads and the main state highways are accessible. This petition would be to open up everything. I understand it's an alternate petition that will be landing shortly, which is to close down everything, which moves us more, further apart into more extreme positions. I'm really aware of the fact that just trying to, I have very little interest in forcing this petition to undergo a rewrite and recollection of signatures because of an administrative detail that just feels asinine and counterproductive. And I'm also not convinced that having 2 diametrically opposed polarized petitions are going to bring us any closer to resolution as a town on this. My general impulse is to move the suggestions that have come around trying to form more of a committee task force made of citizens on either side of the issue in some mediated direct conversation approach. That always seems to yield the best results. I don't see the formal structure of whether we're in an Australian ballot or open floor meeting environment. I don't feel like it's appropriate for this issue to compel us towards restructuring how we do town business because of this issue. If we do end up doing that because of COVID, absolutely. If we decide, hey, we just need to move to Australian ballot and let floor meetings die, I have no pro or con to that. I just don't want that decision to be made because of the ATV debate. That doesn't feel like the appropriate way to make that decision. And so I don't want, I really want to divorce those issues. We're open floor town. That's what it is right now. We don't know what the pandemic's gonna be like in March. We need to work with the structure we have right now. So that doesn't really leave me with a clear, this is what the board should do. I think if I was to, I would be more inclined to have a targeted group of people that are actually interested in working out a compromise and not just digging into their positions, work out a legitimate community buy-in approach that gets to the root of what would be an equitable solution on this. I totally recognize it could be super naive and pie in the sky that we would actually reach that, and that may not be possible. I remember how it went I was at that last meeting. It was It didn't result in that, but that was also not the best format. And I think there was a lot of other, I think there's some poison pills thrown into that meeting that made a real conversation, a productive conversation, pretty difficult. I'd rather see something that is a smaller format amongst townspeople with maybe some invited guests for testimony or something along those lines. I think the board could serve in a position to help facilitate that, but I don't necessarily even feel like there should be the board taking lead on this. I don't feel like that's my position to tell the town what's appropriate around this. I feel like this is where like a vote would make sense, but we are so like voting ends up in this kind of climate ends up, I think, getting towards more polarized, like winner take all solution. And that's not going to resolve the issue. So I feel like we generally do better when we have a better opportunity to talk stuff out and find common ground. And I'd like to think that with the exception of some really strong polarized opinion, we have more in common than we have apart on this as a general rule. And I think my general support would lean towards having a focused task group made of people on all sides of the issue that are committed to working out a resolution, report directly back to the select board, and we help facilitate, movement towards a resolution and give that an honest try. And if that task force falls apart, there is literally no consensus to be reached, then maybe we look at voting at that point. But I say that recognizing that there is one petition that's already been served and another one that's about to be served. And, maybe it's the town's will to just like argue it out battle it out the ballot box and winner takes all. And we just suck it up and deal with conflict for the next 10 years. Because I think that's honestly what's going to happen if we just make it a town vote. I don't think anyone's just gonna be like, okay, and we're done and we lose and that's it. Like, that's not going to happen. People are going to keep complaining and keep putting up petitions and because the problem's not going to get resolved that way. So anyways, I'll stop talking. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Jacob. I think your point about I'll be right. I'll be honest. Like this board does not have the capacity to babysit this issue anymore. If a group comes to us with a formal plan, a group forms, we will support that in all capacity. But I think Jacob pointed it out. Like others, we had a meeting, we tried to do this, didn't work.
Whoa.
Yeah, if there's a group of citizens, community members that want to come together on this, I would fully support that. But I think as far as bandwidth goes to, put a bunch of energy into that on behalf of this board, I think that our plate's already pretty full and we've been down that road. And I personally,
Did you really go down that road? Did you really
we tried to go down that road.
We had a big meeting and then you guys decided to step back and let whatever happen. That's basically what the select board did. You said, we're going to step back and let what happens happen. Well, it's happened, Charlie.
Yeah.
And don't tell me you don't have a horse in the race, Charlie. You have a bit of a pony in that goddamn thoroughbred race, considering your actions about Vasa back when this all broke to hell, when no one realized, when everybody was cooped up for 3 months, that all hell was going to break loose, and we had no support from anybody to keep the people down, keep them calm. Yeah. That was a big problem with Vasa themselves. They should have recognized that was going to happen, quite frankly.
No, I think we have a dog in this fight, Larry. I'm just saying that I think this is going to take this isn't something that we as a board can make a yay or nay decision on tonight and fix. And I think that there's also a lot of things going on with this question that are more than just opening roads. As Darren's pointed out,
I agree.
On enforcement, there's a framework here that needs to be. So I think I agree with Jacob. If there's a committed group of individuals in town that want to take this on and hash it out and come back to the board with some potential steps forward, we'll support that process. I just don't think that this forum, select board meetings is the forum to have that conversation in.
Agreed.
Can I say one thing? I recall, my recollection from that last meeting was that we had some very specific questions from Vasa around enforcement, around membership. There's some like pretty particular questions that were like, hey, so how is this actually going to play out and what is this actually going to look like? And I haven't heard anything again. We heard a couple of like folks that were going to attend meetings, ended up not coming. Like there were some rumblings, but the ball was kind of in, like the select board facilitated a meeting. asked a bunch of questions, left that meeting with the expectations those questions were going to be answered, and they were never answered. So I have a very vested interest in seeing this not be this infected lesion consistently like plaguing our community. Like, I don't want that. Like, no, I would love to see some resolution, but I am so aware of the fact that when the select board takes leadership on a contentious issue, as if we have some better idea than the general community how to resolve it, like, that does not work in Montgomery. And that's one of the reasons I love this town. So like, if there is going to be a resolution from this, it's not going to be because we have like some like omnipotent brilliance by virtue of our being select board members that's going to be correct. That would just be arrogance and hubris. And so my saying that is because I have yet to hear responses specifically from VASA of the questions that I had personally. I know that they're out there. I feel like there's some decent resolution here. And it's kind of, for me, this falls into a very similar camp as to the municipal building and municipal infrastructure. Like, I want that to come from the town and have the town direct what they want, and then have the select board support the town in that. And so I want the town and like a group of citizens that actually care about this to come up with something that feels good. And then as a select board member, I'll do everything in my power to facilitate that. I'll publicize things, I'll show up at the meetings, I'll advertise them, I'll participate, I'll help, in any regard I can in that way. I don't feel like this is coming from a place of passing the buck. I feel like this is me like staying in my lane as a select board member and not overstepping, my position of leadership in somehow having the hubris to think like, oh, well, we're just going to say yes or no, or have it be some bureaucratic thing like, oh, sorry, we're an open town, not a Australian ballot, so like your petition's out of here, or like, oh, let the voters just figure it out. I mean, that feels like more of a cop out. I would rather.
So, so as far as Suzanne, did you want to weigh in on that?
Well, I was just wondering, like, we're still kind of getting away from the whole point of this conversation, which is just regarding if we accept this petition or not. Is there a way to respectfully say, like, your petition is not valid, but we want to work, and at the same time, on the opposite end, when we get the next petition, say, I'm assuming that also will probably have a date or Australian ballot request or whatever, maybe not, but to say like, we don't accept these petitions, but we want to facilitate like developing a community group or some sort of subcommittee or something, so that it's not just like, oh, your petition's dead, or yes, we'll do this at town meeting.
Yeah.
Is there like a middle ground that we can?
Yeah, we could say whatever we wanted to. I mean, legally, I think we have to say the petition is invalid. I mean, okay. That's, but as far as what we say after that, it's whatever we want to. I mean, and we can direct the petitioners to form a working group on this. We can tell them that we'll bring it we can literally say anything. It's just a case of if we say, hey, we're not going to take your petition, but our response is we think you should form a working group on this with folks in the community to come up with a more holistic solution to this. We can do that. I just have real hesitancy about the board, as Jacob said, the board leading that, the board tapping certain people to be on that committee, or the board, I really think that if there's people that are passionate about this on both sides, those people should get together and hash this out.
Well, speaking on behalf of the people who, have one side of the equation, we're very happy to meet with Roberta or whatever and try and negotiate something out. But if they want, they know where we are and they can come talk with us. And if they don't want to negotiate and just want to try and plow through, we'll push the other way, and we'll see in March what happens. So I'd rather not go that route because it's very divisive to the town. But if they want an all or nothing thing, then we're going to fight to give them nothing.
Reaching out goes both ways.
I'm right here, Larry. You know where I live. They can walk in my door and we can have that conversation. You don't need to be confrontational about it. They know where I am. We're happy to talk with them about it. I don't want to ban ATVs in town. I think it's great. I just want responsibility, and I want certain areas protected, especially the village and the center where there have been abuses. But If we can't negotiate that, that's fine. I'm ready to talk, and you know that.
So as far as outcomes for this evening, is there a consensus on a message essentially from the board to the petitioners?
I mean, I guess what I would propose, just to have something on the table so you can move on. We can't accept the proposal because it's not legal. So I feel like that's pretty cut and dry. And in saying that, I would strongly encourage those in this meeting or other self-declared invested parties on both/all sides of this issue to meet in a middle ground, like, you know, a neutral space of mutual decree to begin dialogue. And I would welcome, if that fails, a request of the select board to help facilitate that meeting if by their own accord can't come up with a process for finding a time and a place of neutral platform. I feel vested enough in helping facilitate a conversation if that's what's required. I would like to think that we're not so far down the line we can't at least get a meeting together. I would challenge everyone who has a really strong emotional stake in this to come with humility to find a neutral time and place to have a conversation and see if there is a citizen-led path forward. And that would be the message back to this petition as well as to the forthcoming petition. That's what I propose.
Marcus, Suzanne, any thoughts on that?
I think Aria likes Jacob's voice.
What did she say?
I think Aria likes Jacob's voice.
Talk all night.
We know.
I know you do. That's why it's funny.
No, I mean, I don't know how to really, I agree that like I would like to help, you know, maybe vet or neutrally, you know, contribute to the committee, but I don't know that how it would really be word that, you know, petition response.
Mark, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, I think that's, we're at the point where we have to say the petition is invalid, but I think we should just state that it would be good if they could, both sides could get together and try to talk it out and try to resolve some of the problems and then come back. I mean, that's the way I look at it right now.
Okay, then what I might do then, if there's no objection, is just email the petitioners and email the individuals who have self-identified as, for lack of a better word, being leaders on the other side of the issue, and encourage them to pick 4 friends and have a conversation, essentially, and see if we can find some common ground here.
Do we need to make that in a motion or?
We can,
But
I think you
yeah,
have to make, I think you have to make a motion to reject the petition.
yeah, we do have to make that formal motion. I don't know about I don't know if there's a formal motion to be made on the other end of it, although we certainly can.
And we could do it in the form of a resolution, or we could just let the meeting minutes reflect that component of the discussion, right?
All right, so in the interest of moving this along and for formality, I'm going to make a motion that the board reject the petition that was submitted on the grounds that Montgomery is a floor town and therefore cannot statutorily bring this question to the voters in November. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second from Suzanne. Is there any further discussion?
I would just maybe have it listed in the minutes, our intentions around seeing both sides come together. If we're not going to have that part of the motion of the resolution, just so that's abundantly clear that that's the intention of the board.
Yep. Certainly. Okay, hearing no further discussion, we'll call the question. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. Okay, great. I will. I'll reach back out to the petitioners and let them know. with that, the only other item under new business is the voter checklist, which we've carried over from previous meetings. Again, the homework for the board was just to go through that at your availability and kind of start to tease out any red flags on there. What I'm going to do is get with Liz and see if we can schedule at the next meeting or the first meeting in September a more formal review of this, because the rest of the BCA would or should be involved in that as well. So I will get back to everybody with details on that. But in the interim, take a look at the spreadsheet that was sent out. There are no overweight truck permits and there are no liquor or tobacco licenses. So with that, is there, oh yeah, Suzanne, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, I would have brought it up earlier, but I was late. So do you remember a couple months ago, I brought up the Creamery Bridge dumping ground?
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, there have been still people throwing their trash, not huge garbage bags as much, but still like little plastic bags of trash and stuff like that. Recently, somebody discarded all of their slaughter remnants from a chicken processing day down that bank.
That's so beat.
Oh.
Anything you could use?
Not personally. I'm sure my dogs may have appreciated it once or twice.
Hey, grab their feet. They're so good for chicken stock.
I'll go collect those right away. But so I do think, you know, it's not a problem that's really going to go away. And I would like to see it addressed. And I do think, you know, like I live there and I go there and it's personal and everything, but it's becoming a much more like visited swimming hole. And I'm sure nobody who goes there really wants to be smelling that or finding trash and all the other stuff that comes down that bank into the river.
Yeah, I just don't know what the solution outside of like cameras and stuff, like
even
how
just a fence. That was just my thought, was the fence that went around that turnaround there on the bank side.
Okay. Yeah, Sue?
Charlie, is that something that we're, the Conservation Commission, that we're going to be addressing with those, the no dumping, no littering, those signs? Is that
I mean,
that we, I don't know.
yeah, there's signage. Signage is slated to go up, whether or not I mean, my gut tells me that if somebody's going to dump a truckload of chicken carcasses, they're probably not going to pay attention to a sign, but.
Right. Well,
yeah.
I just thought, I thought that was something we were addressing with the signage. I don't know.
Yeah, but Suzanne, a fence would be an interesting idea,
I mean,
design-wise.
Even, I don't know, like just like a 5-foot chain link fence. I mean, at least to make it hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you can go around, but you know.
Yeah, it only stops us short people, Suzanne.
Right, maybe a 7-foot fence.
With razor wire.
And video cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just something to be aware of, and maybe if anybody has a problem-solving thought for that.
Okay. So with that, any other business for the board tonight? Okay, hearing none. Motion to adjourn is always in order.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion from Mark. Is there a second?
I'll second. Seems so
Second from
soon.
Jacob. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.